Hello and welcome to the Black Rose Garden. So over the past few days, I've been, well, mostly busy, but with whatever free time I did have, I've been working on a build for the Gauntlet. So before I talk about the build, this is not a build guide, by the way. These are just my plans, because this build, I made it on my own, and I would say that I'm pretty decent at making builds. I've enjoyed doing it for quite a long time, but it's untested, so I wouldn't want to call this a build guide. And if anyone has any suggestions for improvements or criticisms, feel free to let me know in the comments below. So before I talk about the build that I came up with, I wanted to go over the rules and restrictions for this gauntlet. First of all, these skills are banned, which is really sad for me because I'm a witch enjoyer. Pretty much from the very beginning when I first started playing Path of Exile, I've only played witch. And this was back in Delirium League. But back then, Witch was like one of the strongest classes in the game for racing, which is how I first got into what got me into Path of Exile. Witch was like the only racing class, the only good racing class. And let's see, what do I remember? Off the top of my head, Occultist had the self-cursed temp chains, Headhunter, you get like hundreds of Headhunter stacks, and you temp change yourself so that they last forever. Necromancer was like the tankiest class in the game, and Necro was also a really good support class. And then Elementals was just overall pretty good for any elemental skill. And minion skills always played on Necromancer. Well, over the past few years, Witch has been significantly nerfed, and now they're no longer good at pretty much anything. But I still like playing Witch. Right now, in the current meta, unfortunately, Detonate Dead is like the only good solo self-found hardcore skill for Witch, and so it's really sad that they banned it. Also, Penance Brand of Dissipation can be played on Witch, which is why I pretty much have to make my own build, because there's not that many good options left. There's the Transfigured Gem rule. So I don't even know if I'm going to get to bossing or if I'm going to even be able to kill them. But I'm going to try to follow this rule just in case I get there. So let's get into my build. My idea was basically to just make the tankiest possible witch build. And it used to be Necro, easily. But Necro has been nerfed, and I thought about it, and I actually think Elementalist could be the tankiest, because Bastion Elements is going to tank a lot of elemental damage, and then there is one new golem that can help you tank the wrong one, the Stone Golem of Safeguarding. So this golem tanks 10% of melee damage before you, and scaling up golem buff effect, this can go up to like 40 to 50% pretty easily in solo self-found hardcore, as long as you go elementalist and you take the golem nodes. And then this last one is just for a bit of extra damage, because there's not really anything important to take. And so I was thinking, well, this is the best way to get defensive, so I wanted to find a build that could also scale damage off of minion life. And like pretty much the only way to do that in this game is with minion instability. And the best skill for that is, of course, Summon Raging Spirits. And the Transfigured Summon Raging Spirits is actually perfect for this, because they have additional maximum life, which means the minion instability will deal even more damage compared to the normal version, which is perfect because it's also a Transfigured Gem. So let me just briefly walk over this tree that I came up with. I wanted it to be level 89 because my goal is honestly just to get to level 90. I'll be pretty happy if I can get there. Anything above that and beyond that would just be extra. So the tree, it's mainly focused on defensives with spell suppression at 82%. This is because you take this cluster plus the lucky spell suppression is lucky, and then you just need a little bit of spell suppression on gear. You can pretty much get it on most forms of gear. So in the POB, I put Elevore, which gives 20%. Yeah, 20%. But you can just get that on boots, gloves, helmet, body armor. And if you get more than that, you'll more than 20% from gear, then you'll have more than 80% spell suppression. It's pretty much impossible to actually cap spell suppression. So we're just going to abuse the lucky. And we're also pretty much cap block by taking glancing blows with these block nodes, with a shield and Tempest shield, and then Arumi's. So obviously this is unique, and you might not get one in solo self-found hardcore, so you'll have a little bit less block chance if you don't get it, but not too much we can do about that. And then the rest of the nodes are life, minion, aura, additional curse, aura effect, and of course the golem ones that let you increase the buff effect of golems so that they can defend for you better. And then let's go over the skills. All defensive auras. I literally made this build without even like thinking about the damage, which is rare. But so that's another reason why this build definitely needs to be tested to see if the damage is doable. But I'm most scared of dying, so I've focused mainly on survivability. For your main skill, you're probably not going to get a 6th link, but if you do, these are the skills, the links that you want, with the most important being Infernal Legion, so that your SRS will actually kill themselves, and then they'll blow up, and they'll proc minion instability. The Stone Golem Safeguarding, and of course the OG Chaos Golem, which grants additional physical damage reduction. It says 5%, but with the buff effect increases, it'll be like 20%, which is pretty good. Shield Charge, Flame Dash, these are my standard movement skills. Cast on damage taken, of course. And then for the utility spells, I actually put in Enfeeble, again, to be even tankier. And then we have Still Golem of Hordes, partly to proc Feeding Frenzy, but also partly to have even more golems in order to increase the buff effect because of Elemancer. So with all of these gems, it all actually already takes up all of your slots, and I'm pretty sure I already need an unset ring in order to fit like Flame Dash, which is why we're missing a lot of other skills that you would normally see in a minion build, like Offerings with Desecrate, that combo. I also can't fit in like a Divine Blessing. I also can't fit in Specters or Animate Guardian, although Animate Guardian is pretty troll to take with minion instability. And then for items, I didn't even bother putting in the rares. Obviously you just want life and resistances, and you're definitely not going to find all of these uniques in hardcore solo self-found, but the most important ones are Tavukai, which buffs your SRS and makes them take damage so that they proc minion instability even faster. Siegebreaker also increases damage based on life of your minions, so this will increase your damage by quite significantly. And then everything else is just defensive luxuries. Clay Shaper gives you more golems, which again increases the buff effect of your golems so that you're tankier. This I just put here for the spell suppression. Lightning Coil or Cloak of Flames to give physical damage taken as an element so that they can go through your Bastion of Element shield until you'll be quite a lot tankier if you get those. And Rumi's obviously for the block chance. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to be testing out this build over the next week before the gauntlet starts in the private league that I set up. I'm not too sure how accurate this damage is, but we'll find out in the game. And for leveling, I'm actually thinking of just starting out with SRS as early as possible. So the idea is you start Witch, and then you path to take Enduring Bond as soon as possible, and then you rush over to take Minion Instability. And by that time, which is like still in Act 1, you should be able to get normal Summon Raging Spirit plus Infernal Legion plus either minion damage or minion life support. I don't know which one is actually better at that point. And that should be okay. And doing it this way, instead of going another leveling build, allows me to not have to respec. So I'm gonna test that out. If that doesn't work, obviously just go back to the like Rolling Magma, Arma Brand, Cremation, which I play pretty much every league. So yeah, I'll let you know if this build turns out to work, if it functions, then maybe I'll make a build guide, a more in-depth build guide. But we'll see.